Trauma occurred when we consistently betrayed ourselves for love, were consistently treated in a way that made us feel unworthy or unacceptable, resulting in a severed connection to our authentic self. So I had to be this for you to love me. And when that changed, I had to change who I was for you to love me. So that's we do this. We do this without any awareness of it. And we live our lives from these patterns. A lot of people live their lives from these patterns until they shine a light on it and they do the inner work to heal that and to come home to themselves. It's not about never feeling uncomfortable. It's about knowing what to do with it. It's about having a system that is well regulated. And at the end of the day, you can think of your oxytocin and vasopressin dance partners as your resilience builders. We can't build resilience in the absence of challenge. So, challenge is really important. We need it as humans. And things like training, exercise, uh, fasting, changing your habits, all that sort of stuff requires a challenge. It's not easy. Change, right? But without that challenge, we can't build resilience. We can't learn to trust ourselves again. We can't learn to be the ones navigating our own life. So we've got to stop fearing discomfort. We've got to stop fearing our inner experience because it is teaching us about how to come home to ourselves. It is teaching us resilience. So that's a really important piece to remember. It's not about not feeling uncomfortable or stress, but it is about having safe challenge. So we need to have challenge in the context of a safe body. So one of the things I've since learned while doing this deep dive is a concept of, when we actually have a safe challenge, strength training, high intensity interval training, ice bath, fasting, the challenge builds the resilience, but it creates vasopressin in the body. So what I'm trying to say here is that if we have dysregulated vasopressin and oxytocin, our body is in a safe place. We then go and do something like ice therapy, cold plunging. We fast for a very long time. We're increasing vasopressin. Then if we then take ourselves into a highly stressful situation, so we say, for example, just the way I've seen it, you go have an ice swim, you come to someone who is trying to attack you, you can actually have a heart attack. And I think that's where we see people who talk about, the overall context of stress, and then what are the things that we're doing to our body in that context. I think it is an important thing to understand. So we have to really look to our own nervous system, to our own internal world. Are we walking around as a safe place to be? Because then things like high intensity interval training, cold plunges, extensive fasting, they then we build the resilience from that. Our body can handle the vasopressin and knows what to do with it. I think that's just an important thing, and it's such an individual thing. But that's why we have to come back to, look at the internal safety that you're living in. You have to do the inner work to build that safe place to be inside. Then all of that doesn't become work. That becomes amazing fun because we know it's hard. We know it's a safe challenge. We know it builds resilience. And we actually know that our heart and our lungs, our organs are going to have the capacity to handle it. If you think about it, our biology, we can only handle what we're used to, right? I mean, I couldn't go out now and run a marathon because I haven't trained for it. I might like to think I can, but I couldn't. So this is the same. So we have to build it up within our body very, very slowly, but we have to be honest with ourselves around the safety that we're creating within, around the truths that we're believing about ourselves and who we are. So it's about trusting that what you feel is showing up, is showing you something. It's about acting to protect yourself when you need to do that, right? We need to act, we need to run, we need to fight to protect ourselves when we are truly in danger. It's about knowing who you are, being grounded within yourself, and getting back up in life when it throws you the curveballs that it will always do. We have this innate ability to do this. The problem is we now see threats in our mind where largely there is none. So let's touch a little bit on the biology of resilience, and that's looking at oxytocin and vasopressin. As I said, I'm only going to do a bit on this today, and next month I'll do a deeper dive. So, what is oxytocin? Well, it's a peptide hormone. It is the king hormone. Oxytocin and vasopressin has to come in there now too, which is the first time I've really seen that. And it is the key to our ability to heal, to feel safe, and to connect with other people. It is a neuropeptide that is released when your body senses, I am safe to be what I am as I am. It's not something that's released when we believe our mind that says, oh, we're not safe until we lose 30 kilos. We're not safe until we stop craving things. We're not safe until we start doing something. It has to come from being safe as you are right now. So this is why this is foundational. This is what we move from. Otherwise, we tend to stay stuck. And I hear it a lot in my clients. I'm feeling stuck. I'm sure many of you will have experienced it. I've experienced it in my journey. I think is directly related to oxytocin and vasopressin regulation. So when we do things like speak our truth, as I said at the start, when our words and actions match our inner world, our inner truth, when we are present to ourselves and to where we are, and when we remember who we are and return home to ourselves. So they are intimately connected. Oxytocin and vasopressin are dance partners. They work in alignment. They allow us to be expansive and thriving while maintaining the ability to act and mobilize ourselves, run when necessary. So when they're not balanced, we often feel unsafe and stuck, as I said, but we might not know why. So vasopressin is way more powerful than cortisol. It's only a part of the picture. But if we have high cortisol, chances are we have vasopressin that is working overtime for us as well. It's not well regulated, but it is incredibly powerful hormone because remember, cortisol is about largely the blood sugar, right? That's releasing that. And that's why often when we have high cortisol, we have high insulin, right? Because insulin's job then is to, we haven't actually run, we haven't actually fought anything, but we have this system of stress coming from our thoughts and our nervous system stories around our perceived safety that's spewing out blood sugar. And then, of course, insulin's job is then to mop it all up. So we tend to have them, they are hand in hand. Leptin is there, of course, as well. But vasopressin is around the heart. It is around your blood pressure. It's around the stuff that can actually, have an immediate impact on your health. As I said, cortisol's role is primarily to release blood sugar for action during stress. Vasopressin through the vagus nerve is responsible for the activation of our organs through water retention and blood pressure. Together, they create a knowing of when it's safe to be, explore, create, and love, or when it's time to protect yourself, to run or to fight. We have to understand trauma, but being ignored, not being met and mirrored through eye contact. So that is also creating trauma. And often then that translates, as I've said, to not being worthy, to a lack of worth. And then we spend our life seeking it externally in others. And that is incredibly dangerous. because it's incredibly inconsistent, and most of us never actually find that. So, what, as I've said, this is brilliant because we can do this ourselves. We can give this to ourselves. Anyway, according to our psychologist, Dr. LaPera, traumatic experiences aren't always obvious. All right. Our perception of the trauma is just as valid as the trauma itself. So, this is especially true in childhood when we are most helpless and dependent. Trauma occurred when we consistently betrayed ourselves for love, were consistently treated in a way that made us feel unworthy or unacceptable, resulting in a severed connection to our authentic self. So I had to be this for you to love me. And when that changed, I had to change who I was for you to love me. So that's we do this. We do this without any awareness of it. And we live our lives from these patterns. A lot of people live their lives from these patterns until they shine a light on it and they do the inner work to heal that and to come home to themselves. So trauma creates the fundamental belief that we must betray who we are in order to survive. We all carry unresolved trauma on some level. It is not necessarily the event, but our reaction to it that imprints and the impact that imprints on us. And while it may be universal and affect the whole person, so the nervous system, the immune response, our physiology, uniquely, we all have the potential to change our automatic responses. So that's what we're doing here. The first step, awareness, witnessing, bringing in your body to the story, not just your mind. This has to go to the whole body. We can't just stay in our head and focus on our thoughts and use our mind, our thinking to change this. We must become aware of the state our body is sitting in, particularly obviously around our nervous system when it is triggered. So identifying your learned coping strategies and how they're keeping you stuck, that is the work, many of which inadvertently live around food and the limiting beliefs that we may have around ourselves. So to create safety within, we must understand ourselves. And this is the work that most people will spend their life avoiding because they're uncomfortable around it. But we're understanding it so we don't have to fear it. We may still be uncomfortable around doing this work, but we will still do it anyway because we understand it and the discomfort will go. So we must bring our body into the story. We must feel what is happening, not just think about it. We must feel it, not habitually run or avoid the feelings that we've conditioned ourselves not to like. Cravings is in that one. Through the lens of quantum physics, neuroscience, and metaphysics, every experience we ever feel, right? This is a concept that can take a little bit to get your head around, but I'm hoping that I make it quite simple for you to see it. But every experience we have, right? Love or fear, sound or touch, it has occurred within us. Okay? So you and me, we have never felt anything out there. Never. What we feel is an interpretation of what is occurring out there. And that interpretation comes down to all the stories, all the conditioning, all the beliefs that we've had from our past, all the trauma and the lack of safety. All of that is what is filtered through every experience that we have, everything that occurs outside of us. And that is why 10 people will stand in front of one scenario and there'll be 10 different reactions to it. We can't ever feel outside in. It always is inside out. And this matters. So life is experienced from the inside out. What we feel is not a direct result of our circumstances, our situations in life, or the people around us. Now, what some people read around this when they come across this information is, oh, well, I shouldn't feel sad when someone's, when they're suffering around me, or I should always feel happy, or I should change everything to be happy all the time. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the breadth of the human experience is to feel it all, and we don't need to fear any of it. We need to understand it, and we need to have an accurate interpretation of where true fear sits. Are we fearing something that, and is our body acting as though our life is dependent upon it just simply because someone doesn't like us, or someone doesn't hasn't validated us, or someone has criticized us, or someone has seen us? So on the surface, it looks like it works outside in, that the outside world is determining everything that's going on within me, but it's not. It can't. The outside world triggers things within you, but everything is always about the inner experience. So I lived in this illusion, this misunderstanding for most of my life. I thought that I had to control everything out there so that I was okay, until I saw that everything out there is neutral. It was my thinking, my perception about everything out there that was creating the feeling I was sitting in. So a glass, a mug, a bottle of wine, it's neutral. It can't make you feel happy or sad. It is a thing, but it's our thinking that we have around that creates the experience that we have inside. So, great example of this in real life. Many people I know are afraid of spiders, but the fear presents internally even when there's no spider in front of them, or they see a picture of a spider, or they think about a spider. The spider, if the spider is in front of you, well, you're meant to feel afraid of it, respect it, do what you need to do to make sure it doesn't bite you or harm you in any way. But to be frightened of something that's actually not actually in front of you, that is a story that is creating a stress response where there is just no fear at all in front of you, because the moment that that is there, you will know what to do. You will know what to do. So no two people will have the same thinking about the mug, the glass, the spider, about anything. And internal safety will create an entirely different experience of the external world. So back to our eyes. So the eyes are the window to the soul. So I don't know if you've ever noticed being around people that can't look you in the eye, very distant, don't look directly at you. This is telling you the state of their nervous system, because the eyes are the window to the soul. The eye connection that we had when we were young was a signal home to ourselves. Said that. So when our caregiver, our main caregiver, usually mum, but when our main caregiver was connected with themselves, they connected with us and gave us a presence well before we could walk or talk. So this signaled not just safety, but worth. It was a mirror of our sense of self back to us. The foundation of that connection with ourselves is essence. It's about rebuilding this and giving it to yourself. And I'm going to go through that very shortly. Okay, so it signaled not just safety, but worth. It was a mirror of our sense of self back to us. The foundation of that connection with ourselves, our essence. And if we didn't get this, we often innocently spend our lives seeking this reflection in the eyes of others. And has social media not magnified this insecurity and this lack of presence and lack of connection? If I get a certain number of likes, if I have a certain number of followers, if people like or tell me that they love me, then I'll be okay. But it doesn't work like that. It never works like that, because it just is never enough. That's not what the mind's job is. It'll go, well, no, you need 2 million, and then you'll feel worthy. It will never come from the outside. It has to come within you. And if you weren't given it, you have to give it to yourself. So if we didn't get this, we often innocently spend our lives seeking this reflection in the eyes of others. We seek external validation, external love, external worth, external happiness, external fulfillment, external value. This puts our life, our essence, our peace, our feelings in the hands of all those that outside of us. And from this place, we rely on the external mirror to create any internal oxytocin, any internal feelings of, oxytocin. Oxytocin. But what I've said to you is that it's like, it's just erratic. It's not consistent. And we spend our whole life trying to get more of it by controlling everybody outside of us. And I know this because I lived it. I didn't know the biology then. That was just how I thought I had to be. That everyone had to be happy with me all the time. Because if they weren't happy, then I didn't like the feeling that brought up within me. So I had to please everybody to be okay, to get my drip of oxytocin. So this can all be changed. We can remember who we are. We can come home to ourselves. This makes oxytocin internally. And this becomes our default setting, that place called home, that safety that our body needs at a foundational level to be healthy and to thrive and to build relationships, build loving relationships with ourselves and other people, to not do things because we think we should, do things because we want to do them, because that's part of who we are. So this then can become our default setting, regardless of the external messaging. We leave people to be as they are. We live our life. We love people in our presence, but we're not here to change anybody. We're not here to save anybody, and we don't need to, because we understand all of this. And it doesn't affect our internal sense of safety, no matter what is going on around us. The word practice, the work. So I think of you, Mary, because you asked an incredible question in the VIP session last week around, but what actually is the work? People talk about doing the work and you've got to do the work. Oh, well, and as she rightly said, I want to do the work, but I don't know what the work is. Well, now you're going to know, and I know we talked about some of this stuff last week, Mary, but I really hope, and I'm obviously not just talking just to you, but I just want you to know that you were in my mind when I was putting this together, which is why the coaches just love it when we get questions and we get, discussions with you, because it helps us to know what to bring you. But what is the work? Well, got to make home in here, right? That's the work. Healing starts with learning how to tap into the needs of our body and reconnecting it with our intuitive self, that self that exists beyond the deep conditioning. Try and not see the words that I'm saying based on what you think the words are. Try and see beyond the words, to the essence, to the message, to the direction I'm showing you. The words can sometimes trip us up because we have formulated already what they mean. And a word like intuitive that can throw people around. But just look beyond what I'm saying to the essence of what all this is. It's about creating this internal safety within. It's not about never not feeling stressed and never not feeling pain and never not feeling sadness and grief. It's about feeling it all in the context of the human experience, but knowing who you are, being here, being home, allowing yourself to navigate the inevitable waves of life and not believing that your worth lives in everything you achieve, in what others think about you, in anything other than who you are, because it came with you at birth. And we've been conditioned through our trauma and our stories to disconnect from it and think that the more I do externally, the more that will bring me back home to myself and will create that internal sense of worth. But that is only ever temporary. You get the promotion, you get the goal weight, you feel good temporarily. But if you haven't come home to yourself, your mind will then think, oh, hang on a minute, the feeling will drop and you'll start that external search once again. Witnessing, observing is the beginning. How is my body reacting? What does it need? What's it doing? So, even though our nervous system reactions are automatic, there are ways to improve your vagal tone, manage your conditioned responses to stress. So, not react straight away, but instead sit with what's coming up to understand it. Not run, not numb, not avoid, not drink, not drug, not eat. Sit with. So that you can return quickly to the open, loving, safe space of social engagement mode, of not cell danger response, of relaxed, of open, of that beautiful parasympathetic state. When we consciously choose specific interventions that align with our values, we actively decrease our nervous system stress response, slow down the sympathetic response in our nervous system, and strengthen our immune system, our musculoskeletal system, and our cardiovascular system as well. So, making your body a safe place to be. We want to harness the healing power of our bodies, regain balance, and build resilience to deal with life as it comes. All the practices are great tools for building that mind-body connection, promoting healthy vagal tone, and important steps towards seeing our choices in life through a much wider angled lens. Remember, fear constricts. Fear keeps us doing the same things over and over again because it's all we know. We may not like the outcome, but at least we know what the outcome's going to be. At least we know what's going to happen. But fear is this. Safety is that. Safety is choice. So we can feel all this going on, but still have access to choice, still give ourselves access to choice if we're willing to not react to those first things that come up. We can't do this with our intellect, not with just our intellect. We can use our beautiful conscious mind to change the story, right? If we do uncover what that nervous system story is, we can change it consciously, but we must bring our body into the story to do the work. So here are some of the ways that we can do that, right? They're scaffolds. They're scaffolds while you come home to yourself to make yourself a safe place. And I truly believe that requires you to remember who you are at your core, at your essence, which we then verbalize as our values, which become the way we react, we choose to live our life, how we treat ourselves, how we treat others. But that won't necessarily be the first option that comes, because that's not what the habitual reactive response is going to be. It'll be the old patterns. But when we have clarity on who we are, on what matters to us, then we will be able to sit through all that comes up and still choose in alignment with who we are. So a lot of these practices, really what they're doing, yes, in the moment, they are regulating your nervous system. They are regulating oxytocin, lowering vasopressin, but they're helping you to feel what it's like to feel safe. Love is safety, right? It's the same thing. Internal safety is internal love. Love is not received, it is remembered. You feel love. Remember, everything that we feel is internal. So the love I feel coming to me is because I'm allowing myself to feel it inside me. It is not received, it is remembered. You are not waiting to be loved. You're remembering how to emit love as your baseline frequency.